want to switch gears a little bit and talk about your role as just a husband. Can you be just a husband when you're going through this with your wife, if you're a physician?
I just had my version of trying to be a good husband, and I think everybody brings to a different, strengths and weaknesses, if you will, or faces different challenges. I had a unique challenge, which is that I knew exactly what was going on at this level of detail, and through my own experience, that the knowledge gap between us was vast, and that was a horrible place to be. I don't know if I'd been better off being naive, because I think then I would have felt completely out of control. Instead, what happened was I felt in control, not of her illness, but of the knowledge around it. And I felt that driving a wedge between us because I knew what was happening. And I knew, and I wrote about this, I think I said I could see the future. I knew that, I think they took the metaphor out, but our lives had been sort of twined together. And I could see that kind of one of the threads was going to stop and the other one was going to go on.
Wow.
And I knew it with certainty, not because some doctor had told me, because I had watched it happen. And
Your own patients?
My own patients and other patients. I had watched husbands go to the elevator for the last time, leaving their dead spouses behind. Not once, but many times. Not just from breast cancer, from other cancers, from other illnesses. I had watched that separation at that moment actually occur. I'd declared people dead and stood there. And so I knew exactly what was going to happen.
And did Ruth feel powerless by this lack of knowledge?
I think she felt a little, I don't think she felt powerless through the lack of knowledge, because I think she felt she had a pretty good grasp of what was going on. She definitely also sensed that there was something else going on that she didn't quite grasp, that she didn't quite have full knowledge of. And that was a very difficult feeling to assuage. And I honestly, I hope I never go through something like this again, but there are aspects of it I could have done better, and that's probably one of them, was trying to find better, smarter ways to bridge that gap. But the other thing is I was paralyzed by fear in so many ways that, I can look back, it's now 3 years, I can look back rationally and say, oh, I should have done this, I should have handled this way. But at the time, it was the combination of the clarity with which I knew what was going to happen and the fear of confronting it was, pretty paralyzing, those two things together.
You write several times in your column that you were often not in the same place. One thing I remember is you were talking about when she was first diagnosed and she wanted to tell people and you wanted to keep it more secretive. And so how do you reconcile that when couples are not in the same place? And is there ever, in that dance that we do in marriage, is there ever a way to kind of come to a happy medium, or is it that the patient kind of trumps the situation?
Yeah, so, in a marriage you learn a lot about yourself.
That's true.
And if you're lucky enough to be married to somebody who's 100 times smarter than you in every respect, like I was, you're stupid if you don't do a lot of listening. She was right and I was wrong. And it's that simple. And I don't know how to intervene into other people's marriages. I wouldn't go about that business. But, she completely owned her experience. And I spent a lot of my time wishing it weren't happening, which was kind of stupid. And I don't remember if I wrote about it, but I remember I said to her many times that first day, I just want to wake up again and start over. To this day. And I think I said it maybe the third or fourth time. She's like, don't ever say that again. And part of it was the repetitive just be quiet, which I lived through for decades plus, of marriage. But part of it was stop. Just
This is our reality.
This is our reality. You know, and each time you say that, you're basically saying, I can't help you in reality land because I'm still trying to not be here. But no, she was absolutely right. She's like, of course we tell our friends, like, this is what they're for. Then she's brutally logical about, we'll never be able to keep all the lies straight, right? And like, and not like it wasn't a big deal, but at some level, like, what's the big deal? Like, this is awful, it's tragic, but it's nothing, there's no shame. There's nothing to hide about it. So like I said, it was just like, she was right. I was just being stupid. I was being cowardly.
So has it gotten easier or just different?
Easier,
Okay.
but omnipresent. So, but I've got stuff I have to do, you know? I have a life I'm supposed to lead. And I have things that I have to do for the people in my family. And the one thing Ruth would have been really pissed about is if I had retreated from that because of this. I'm pretty sure she wanted me to go out and be the person I was when she met me.
Didn't sound like you had the option to crawl into bed and not come out with your son and work, and it sounds like you had to keep putting one foot in front of the other, even as hard as it was, or as hard as it is.
Yeah, thank goodness for that.
Yeah.
Because yeah, I think that would have been my first instinct, just like anybody's, you know. Or Ruth always said, go get a loft in Paris and get tuberculosis and have somebody write an opera about you. But that was, you know, those sort of stabilizing necessities are good, probably. Yeah, and I had, you know, my personal and family responsibilities were the dominant ones. My hospital was wonderful. I think I could have disappeared for as long as I needed to, but they were totally there for me.
Wow.
Well, thanks very much for reading my stuff, and thanks for inviting me to talk about it.
Thank you so much for sharing your experiences with us. This has been great. And thank you for joining us.